Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another Propagandacast Shadowverse episode. And today's topic, deck archetypes. Since I'm sure you've heard some talk about it, of course some might be wondering, well, what do these archetypes actually mean? And for that, I sort of prepared a few decks, plus I've got some of my old ones, so we'll sort of talk about them. There's sort of three rough ones: are aggro, control, and combo. These are sort of the main archetypes, sort of started back from sort of the original card game Magic the Gathering, with another one sort of later on added, which is called mid-range, and then you sort of got subtypes sort of sprouting out from these sort of four archetypes. Starting out here with aggro. Aggro being sort of the, well, aggressive deck type, the aggressive archetype. It sort of builds up as a lot of smaller minions, and then sort of just tries to aggressively bring down the health of the enemy, and then usually might have a sort of finish anyway. They sort of the characterize them as getting a lot of smaller, faster minions or followers like Blood Wolf, Ambling Wraith, things like that. Bats in particular, this one utilizes on with a lot of burn spells. You can sort of use this to quickly, deliver extra damage, and that way bring down your opponent. These are very much aggressive, in your face, and they do not try to trade with the opponent's board. That's sort of the one here. That's basically one of the sort of main archetypes. Again, very aggressive, in your face. If you sort of slow down, you can usually win. They'll tend to run out of steam because they're just expending their resources, their cards, so fast they'll struggle to sort of fill up their hand. Next up is combo. Generally one of the rare archetypes in most sort of card games, at least online. We don't have the full deck here, but I've sort of got most of the cards. In this case, we look at Combo Roach, which is also known as Miracle Roach after Miracle Rogue in Hearthstone, which itself takes its name from some kind of miracle deck in Magic the Gathering, though it's rather changed. Initially, something about just growing your minions into something big, and here it's sort of come to mean just having burst damage. But basically, combo decks try to, kill you in one turn, or at least as short time as possible, but not like aggro decks, so just try and rush up minions, so trying to set up a combination of cards that can that way, destroy you. Usually they build up big hands, and then they sort of play out their decks in the right order once they build it up, and then murder you. In this case, it's built around, Rhinoceros, which is basically sort of the killer card here. It sort of gains strength as you play more cards, and you sort of combine it with things like Fortune Hunter Fina, which then plays out 3 cards and so on. Then using those, and then sort of build it up, and then you sort of murder them in one go. Combo decks, by the way, tend to be weak to aggro decks, since again, to an extent, they sort of struggle with it. Though this one, being more aggressive, can sort of help work against aggro decks. But combo decks tend to be weak to aggro decks, since again, they're not so strong on board control or board presence, which again tends to be a weakness, which allows them to be sort of worn down. It also struggles with certain decks that run a lot of wards, so they can run into some issues here, for at least this one, for example. I mean, other combo decks can sort of kill in other ways, but this one specifically sort of struggles with it. But again, combo decks sort of try to just kill you in one turn, weak to aggro decks, and then you sort of bring on to the final one, control. In this case, I don't have a control deck, personally don't like them, but I get to use here Earthright, which this one I've sort of set it up for mid-range sort of play, but overall, if you just want to sort of do control, I mean, just take out some of the more mid-range stuff like Golem, Gabriel, and sort of put in some bigger stuff like, Bahamut, or if you want the cheap version, you can just sort of sneak in Call of Cocytus, by the way, if you want to do a control deck, which is a cheap sort of silver spell, which sort of at a certain point triggers. If you use sort of 8 play points to kill something, it then gives you a 13/13 you can then play on the next turn. But overall, control decks are the slow ones, so the reactive decks will just initially play and just control the board, wear down the opponent with healing spells and ward followers, and that way just until they can sort of play out the really big things and then murder their opponents. They struggle with combo decks because, again, combo decks sort of try to ignore that. They don't have much board. They can't really be disrupted, so they just sort of hit fast, nowhere, and murder control decks. On the other hand, control decks tend to be good versus aggro decks, since, well, they disrupt and sort of slow down it, wear it out of resources, and that way they just sort of destroy it in the end. So that's sort of the cycle there. Then you sort of added in later mid-range. Mid-range can be described in many ways, but the name sort of rather says it. It's mid of the range. It's sort of in between all of them. It doesn't do really well versus any of them, but it doesn't do poorly. It's sort of like a 50-50 compared to, say, like 60-40 even in some of the other cases. So in that regard, mid-range sort of in between has sort of an optimal chance in theory versus all 3 deck types. You could describe it like a slower aggro or, a faster combo or control, for example. It sort of runs a bit of everything. They sort of try to, kill you faster than control, but, slower than aggro. So that's sort of where mid-range stands. They sort of run some control tools and then some somewhat bigger followers, but for example, they're not going to run the really big things. That's too late for mid-range. And you might ask, well, what about that tempo deck you're running? Well, tempo, well, again, meanings changing as you sort of go from game to game. I mean, for some, it's aggro control. I mean, in this case, it's sort of more come to understanding. Personally, that's what I run as, sort of more like a synergistic, aggressive mid-range. It sort of runs to the extent on the same, but it's a lot more slanted towards early game, sort of having more presence there, and then using said early game to, escalate into sort of bigger things through, synergies, combos in a sense. So I describe it as sort of much more aggressive mid-range personally, with a lot of emphasis on synergies, which also tends to mean if you can disrupt tempo, it tends to sort of go pretty poorly. But if tempo first gets going, it can be very difficult to deal with. It can be very difficult to deal with. So that's, I think, sort of tempo there, sort of neatly described, and then sort of further sort of combo variations like combo control, aggro combo, and so on there. So I think that's sort of covers here the archetypes, and again, I'll be playing this one a bit there. I've realised I might be doing a bit too much, just on tempo assault. That might be a bit boring. I'm not really sure on this one. It sort of seems sort of solid. It runs, these chaps. Basically, my idea of my Earth right here deck, I might as well call it the Golemite deck, is basically a lot of golems and then using golem protection, which buffs them, so further bring that up, in which case it goes from 3/3 to 5/5, and then finally using Gabriel here as a finisher, since that buffs them one up here as well. In theory, you could put something else, but I think so here. So basically, versus faster decks, just tries to wear them down. But versus faster decks, it basically relies on the golem sort of act as a combo, plus it's sort of got petrification to deal with anything sort of nasty in terms of issues. By the way, I'll be posting links there to the decks in the video description, so you don't have to ask for that. I've also updated my tempo token. In this case, I have removed the mate leader because I realised that's not actually good tempo play, and replaced it with Gelt by his captain, which offers a bit more there. And I've replaced Geno actually with Shadowed Assassin, which actually sort of keeps the sort of number of expansion deck cards in my class deck rather reasonable here, sort of. But basically, it's there to give my followers ambush. Basically, I get a big board, then I can use it to preserve it to make it easy to play an enraged general next turn, but also allows me to survive, at least in theory, Daria decks and all the incoming fire they can sort of put down this. That way, Shadowed Assassin provides me more survivability, which again can be used for this, but also just being more aggressive. So in a sense, you can call it a tempo preserver, if you will. So I've been playing around a bit with that, and it sort of had some good effects. Occasionally it just won't be any good, but other times it's pretty good there, really. So that's some of the changes I've made there to my deck. Basically, that one, and Gelt here, who basically gains +1 attack and ward if I sort of play him down when there's already command on board, which can make him pretty handy in some cases. Plus, if you just have to play him on turn 2, he's not exactly bad either. Then he's just a 2/2, which isn't really bad. So there you go. Hope you enjoyed this and learned something from this part of the video anyways. If you didn't know, let me know in the comments if there's any sort of other topics you'd like to see me explore. Otherwise, I might play next week. Actually, to do a, arena run, actually sort of show people what to do about that one and sort of, play out something else. But for now, let's have some battles here. A bit of Earthfright and then Tempo Token. Have fun. There we go. Swordcraft. Going second, which means I get more cards and more wolves, which is definitely not bad. Right, we won't be keeping Professor Taboos. Veteran Alchemist. I mean, if it's aggro assault, Veteran Alchemist would probably be good. But if it's not, it's going to be a bit wasted. I think I'll keep it. Teaching of Creation, Foot Draw. Basically, though, as Earthfright, you basically rely on these amulets or Earthfrights to provide resources with then other effects. Like, for example, this one. If you have an Earthfright, you can then heal yourself for 5 health there, defense. Well, that's not quite useful there. No 1-drops, although I could maybe lay down some golems. Okay, slightly slow start there for him, though he can actually do a lot of damage quickly. Golem protection, not really what I want. Cut one there. Looks like aggro, in which case it's going to be good actually stuck with Veteran Alchemist. That won't be able to heal some of the damage done. Okay, that's pretty much all of his quick bladers, so that's still pretty unpleasant. I'll play Elementary Alchemy, that gave me a 2/2 for next turn, which should help me control the board a bit. But I'll be suffering a lot of damage here. Traded there, interesting. Pops another one. And that's actually interesting. That is actually pretty interesting. Not a lot of 1/1s. There you go, healed up. 5 damage restored. And now it's a 4-7, which means you can actually effectively trade with a lot of smaller ones, which also makes it pretty good there. So there you go. Pops in a floor offensive to trade with that. Fills up the board again. But as you might be noticing, it's slowing him down quite a bit there. It is slowing him down. Now then. I could pop Ancient Alchemist, but I won't be able to do anything right away, so I'm less inclined to do that one. I could try Teachings of Creation to draw something that might be helpful there. I could play Elementary Alchemy. Don't have a lot of 3-drops that would be helpful there. I could pop that one for Guardian Golem, trade into that. I mean, I want to play Professor of Taboos next turn, but then again, maybe I don't. He's sort of more good versus sort of bigger thing, so I think I'll play this one actually. Get a lot of Guardian Golems, in which case I can play down 3 of those next turn, and that's going to really take out the steam of him. So there you go. I got a lot of resources to basically wear him down, and then on the following turn I could just basically play Golem Protection or whatever. Fervit, Novice, and this is rather aggro. I'll evolve that one to trade into the Fervit, which can always get a bonus if a commander's played out. I don't want that. So there we go. That's going to take a lot of his resources to deal with. And if he doesn't, again, I play Teachings of Creation, Golem Protection, and I get them buffed up. Alright, that deals with one of them. Ooh. Oh, no, never mind. I can't deal with that. Otherwise, I mean, if it had another Earthright, I could play down Professor of Taboos, he could then deal with it at the end of the turn, but he doesn't. So what we will do here is then the original plan. And then play Golem Protection. Buffing both of them up. Dealing 5 damage. Then next turn I can play Red Hot Ritual or Teaching Creation and then Professor of Taboos. But as you can see, I'm actually beginning to wear him down. He's beginning to run out of resources. He's beginning to run out of resources. And that was actually a bit of a mistake. I'll play down him. What he also does is he makes a zombie whenever I kill something. And there we go. 2 zombies. And he's got pretty much nothing on board. We'll probably evolve that one to trade into the Professor. If not, he's... Yeah, that was GG there. A victory for the Golem deck. And that was pretty sort of good match there, utilising it, wore down my opponent, even buffed up some of my golems, which I think was definitely critical and sort of further draining him of resources. I do think he should have been saying about that evolve point for so long. That seemed rather silly, but there you go. I think that was a nice display here. But on to the next match, and onwards. Now the Runecraft, most likely going to be Daria. Go second though, that's going to be a big help for me. Pop those away, scrap iron smelter, those can be pretty good in slowing down and buying time in the early bits. An Alchemist will be of help, and Professor of Taboos will certainly also be helpful. But I would like some 2 and 3 drops, to be honest. Something, to buy time in between. Get more resources out. Because I got nothing to play until turn 4, I'm going to be in a lot of trouble. We got Elementary Alchemy, that helps. There you go. Scrap Smelter gives you a 1 or 0-2 reward. Plus that one. Kaleidoscopic Glow. If this is D-ship, though, I've got a lot of problems. Unless again I get off a pretty good Golem combo. We'll see though. Oh yes. Oh dear, this could very well be D-shift, in which case I'm in for a lot of trouble. Haven't seen D-shift in some time. It's rarely played now since Star is just the big one, but it still exists. It still very much exists. Sadly, that doesn't tell me. I mean, everybody runs Piercing Rune because it's just so good. I could run Veteran Alchemist, I guess, heal myself out a bit. Then evolve this one up for a bit of damage this way. I don't want to be kept flat my board with too many Earth Rights out either way, because then I can't play anything down, which is pretty bad. But if this is D-shift, I'm gonna need a lot of no. Dance of Death, that's then very much Dario, is it? Well, at this point, I'm not really sure what he's playing at. Gonna roll that one, see if we can't find something else. Like Golem Protection or Ancient Alchemist. There we go. Play as much as I can. I'll probably lose some. That way, just also get more resources. Honestly, Dance of Death. Yeah. Wow. That must have been a really terrible hand he's at then. I'm very happy then I got Calamitous Curse. Very happy I got that one. I want to be careful about not triggering it too soon. If that's the case, I'll do it like this actually. I could pop Ancient Alchemist, build up a big hand of golems, but right now I think I'll go for this one. Much better distraction. Plus I can then trade much more efficiently. Get up a bunch big board and, well, kill that one. And there you go. So there you go, cleared the board, build up my own board. I really like the Professor of Taboos. I think it's a really interesting card they added in the Rise of Bahamut expansion. Plus he just looks so cool, so mean. Dario out there. I mean, if he plays that a big hand, normally this would be a problem if I was playing Swordcraft, but as Earthright, I got Calamitous Curse. So it's actually not a problem. He'll probably kill that one. If he doesn't, he's going to regret it. Yep, first takes out that one. The Piercing Rune. The other one as well. So, Calamitous Curse should basically clear the board. Then plays up that one. We'll see if I end up regretting it. I could easily though. If he's got another Dario easily in hand though, this is going to hurt me. If not though, I'm pretty well off. So, if Ancient Alchemist now, I can actually do it pretty well. Trade in here. And now I got plenty of golems can just play down there to slow down, plus the Professor of Taboos, plus actually I can do a golem protection next turn. Quite easily. Oh, reasonably easily. And there we go. I won by sort of weighing them down. I didn't get to the mid-range part, but against more aggressive decks, you just got to play the defense and wear them down here. Again, that's rather what mid-range again means, so can react to different types of decks sort of neatly. So there, sort of a nice display there of the Golem Rune deck, if you will. Very much relying on it with sort of Professor 2 sort of to back up and clear out more nasty elements and fill up the board with zombies, which aren't quite golems, but you know, they'll do the trick in a pinch. Alright. Time for some tokens. And Bloodcraft. Always seem to end up with Bloodcraft for these chaps whenever I do these videos. Seems like inevitable. That's a pretty good opening hand. 1, 2, 3. Plus that one could be pretty good versus a Urius. They get something commanderish there. So far no sign of that. We'll see what happens. Oh, as they can take it out on turn 3 though with my Vanguard and Fervent Soldier. So far nothing. Got a whole salt swing, that also helps. Also helps, I'll save that for any baits he might play. That's a new one. That's very much a new one. I have to deal with that one pretty rapidly. Oh, I can just negate the damage and who knows what else it'll do. That's a new one. You generally don't see that one very often. Okay, there we go. That's more normal. I know that. That's fate. He's dead. But I wonder what this kind of deck could be. Some kind of mid-range Bloodcraft. You hear about them, you just don't see them very often. So hard to say there what this could be. And there we go. Deals at some of the damage suffered. And then deals it to itself again. I've honestly not got the foggiest. I've really got no clue what this deck is trying to do. This is pretty much just foreign territory to me at the moment. Like the Sweet Fang Vampires are completely out of the blue. You just don't see them run. Okay, this is either mid-range controlled then. But still, it's weird. It's still weird. It's very much sort of the weirdest of the weirds. Wow. How much damage do I have there? I've got 8. Yeah, that's GG. I really like the Ascetic Knight when he's sort of evolved. Oh! That was weird. But then we enjoy the weird, don't we? And there we go. A few battles here, just highlighting sort of my new Golem deck if some people are interested in that one. And again, I'll be posting links to sort of the 2 decks there. Shall be posting links to them. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, subscribe, like, share, and comment. Let me know what you'd like to see. If there's any other attacks you'd like to see the decks I'd like to see me explore. I'm certainly planning out a sort of forest craft deck, not utilizing roaches at all, but in fact trying to rely on some of the less utilized cards at the moment. The ones to try and rely on big card hands to play down big creatures. So that'll probably be something you might see next time alongside the golems and of course my tempo token deck. I think there's overall a lot of deck types that are still viable. In fact, they haven't even been explored. It's just most people sort of going for what's really popular. So this is Imperial Dane saying thank you all for joining in. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, again, hope to see you in another 2 days time. This is Imperial Dane saying cheers. Bye.